London feels like a very modern metropolis. But look beyond the traffic and the flashing signs, and you'll find layers upon layers of history. Tonight, we'll learn how a small Roman settlement grew into a sprawling city, home to nearly 9 million people. London has survived invasions, plagues, fires, and even a tornado, to become one of the world's great capital cities. We'll start with a surprising find beneath Trafalgar Square. And from there, we'll follow the city's relentless expansion over the centuries. So just relax and let your mind drift as we explore the sleepy history of London. When you think of London, perhaps you picture Trafalgar Square, bustling with tourists and commuters, double-decker buses and black taxis. This square feels like the very centre of London. And indeed, nearby Charing Cross is the point from which distances from the capital are traditionally measured. As the location of the National Gallery, and with Nelson's column towering over the square, there's also a real sense of history in this part of London. You can imagine that this place has seen it all the changes that have taken place over the centuries. Relatively speaking, most of the architecture in Trafalgar Square isn't that old. The National Gallery was built in the 19th century, as were most of the fountains and monuments. But the area, now known as Trafalgar Square, has been a significant part of London since at least the 13th century. And it's also the site of another hidden history. In the 1950s, during building work in Trafalgar Square, some ancient remains were unearthed. Cave lions, wild ox, hippopotami, and rhinoceroses. These beasts lived in the area during the last interglacial period, approximately 120,000 years ago. It's surreal to imagine that here, where taxis wait at traffic lights, a rhinoceros once roamed. However, the true history of London has to begin with the area's human inhabitants. Humans first arrived in Britain much earlier, perhaps as early as 800,000 BCE. It seems likely that humans were also living in the London area hundreds of thousands of years ago. There's some evidence of activity, such as stone tools and human remains. But London wouldn't become an official settlement for quite some time. During the New Stone Age, around 4000 to 2200 BCE, communities in Britain began to live a more settled existence. The hunter-gatherer lifestyle was phased out as people turned to agriculture and began to domesticate animals. By the Bronze Age, the London area probably consisted of scattered farming settlements. There would have been lots of sheep, cattle, and a relatively new development, domesticated horses. By the Iron Age, which began in 700 BCE, horses were being used to pull carts. Trade and travel were now much more accessible, and the people living in the area were more connected with the outside world. London was on the cusp of existence, but it was only officially established in the 1st century, the period around 43 to 47 CE. The Romans had just conquered Britain, and they needed a strategically located base near the river. They chose an area on the bank of the River Thames, and they named it Londinium. In a sense, this is where our history of London really begins, with the Romans. Londinium was small. It occupied a space of about half a square mile. To put that into perspective, that's about the size of the present-day Hyde Park. You could have walked from one end of the city to the other in about half an hour. Londinium was located on the north bank of the River Thames. Roughly speaking, it corresponded to the district that we now know as the City of London. That's the area where St. Paul's Cathedral now stands. The Romans established Londinium for strategic reasons. Its location on a low point of the Thames made it easy to access both by land and sea. It was the ideal site for a port. Londinium soon became an important trade hub for the Romans, and over the years, the population quickly expanded. By the 2nd century, Londinium was home to as many as 60,000 people. It was growing in grandeur too. At the time, the city's basilica, a building that housed law courts and other civic institutions, was one of the largest structures north of the Alps. Another important construction was the London Wall. Building work began around 200 CE, and when completed, the wall stretched for more than 2 miles, encircling the city. Repairs and additions were made in medieval times, and some of the wall still survives today. An impressive section can be seen near Tower Hill Tube Station. In the second half of the 2nd century, a major fire seems to have destroyed much of Londinium. There may have also been a plague. Whatever the cause, the city's population shrank. This was a pattern that would often be repeated over the years to come. Expansion, followed by a disaster, then a period of rebuilding and growth. In Roman times, Londinium never quite regained its former glory. But it was still the capital of Roman